Content creation can feel so overwhelming and so daunting. If anyone is like me, you feel like you need to have it all figured out from the start. That's not true. You just need to start. You can do it while you have a full-time job. You can do it while you have a family. Just press start and just get started.
Alexis Novoa, she's a full-time creator and she works in corporate still, balancing her kids, her 9 to 5, and the happy hour run club. Do you feel like you're working 2 full-time jobs?
I feel like I'm working 45,000 full-time jobs. Content creation, job, pick kids up from school, finish work, do content creation more, put them to bed, content creation, log into work for a little while. It was a constant cycle. There was no breaks.
You're like, no, I'm going to be able to work my corporate job. I like the stability. I like the income that it provides.
I love knowing that I have a steady paycheck. That structure feels good to me.
It's pretty normal for brands to pay you like net 60, net 90.
Yeah,
right.
And that stresses me out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make $5,000 by this date. My actions seem to follow. Okay, what are the types of videos that brands would want to see? I started posting more of those, started tagging brands more, and it came really naturally.
I think it's such a great space for women, especially, to get into. The barrier to entry is so low.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be. If it lives in your mind, it's not going to make an impact on anyone. Once you get it out there is when your life is going to start changing.
Today on How She Does It, we have Alexis Novoa, who I have known for so many years and I love. She's one of my best friends, but also she's a full-time creator and she works in corporate still, balancing her kids, her 9 to 5, and more recently, the happy hour run club. So welcome to Alexis Novoa. Welcome to How She Does It.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Me too. I want to start off by asking you the question for the people listening. My audience is like 97% women, which we love. So to the girl that's listening right now that's wanting to start in content creation, tell me why she should stay and listen to this episode.
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I think content creation can feel so overwhelming and so daunting. And if anyone is like me, you feel like you need to have it all figured out from the start. Like, I need to have my plan. I need to have my pillars. I need to have my schedule. And if I fall off track, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going to do it. And I think I have learned over the last 2 years of being a content creator that that's not true. You just need to start. You can just go. You can do it while you have a full-time job. You can do it while you have a family and you just find what's going to work for you. So just press start and just get started and then see what comes from it. You'll figure it out as you go.
I love that. And you really are a type A, right? You'd say that you're type A.
100%.
Yeah. So tell me, because I very much have a different personality from you. I think like, those memes that you see online of moms where it's like the type A mom and the type B mom.
Yeah.
I am type B, you are type A. And so we approach content creation and just everything very differently, but we have very similar values. So tell me, bring me back to when you originally started posting online. How did you make that decision and how did you work your mindset to step out of the everything has to be perfect, I have to get this right, I have to do everything 100%, and how did you press go on that?
Yeah, so I have been creating content and posting content since like high school. I had the YouTube channel back in high school. I've had a million blogs. I've tried the podcast. And the one strategy that I had throughout all of that was I felt like I needed to have the structure, the schedule, all of the ideas in place. And none of those times it stuck. It didn't work. So when I was going into content creation this time and I was like, this is actually something I really want to do and something I want to stick with, I kind of scrapped that. Tried to, because I still kind of revert back from time to time. But I just said, just do it. Just post. You just post whatever makes you happy. Post what you think is funny. Post what's going on in your life. And that's when I started seeing traction in my page. I posted a silly dancing video 2.5 years ago, and that's where it all started. And I was like, oh, it really doesn't matter that you don't have everything in place. It does not matter that you don't have all of the ideas written down in the schedule. Just do it. Just get something out there and then figure it out as you go.
I love that. And it is true. Do you think that it had to be the perfect combination of, like, you were ready to kind of just put stuff out there, but then also the platform of TikTok, because that's where you originally
Yeah.
grew. TikTok had started, it, like, was there, and it has a different energy to it where you just get to be yourself, you just get to show up, and I don't know why, because I have, like, my biggest following on TikTok, but I still feel like I'm hiding from real life over there. Where I'm
I
like, nobody knows me, knows nobody sees me. Do you feel like it had to be, like, that perfect combo in order for you to go?
Yeah, and I think it took a lot of, like, being comfortable in my skin, and it wasn't until we moved away from family and moved away from everything that was familiar that I was like, "Okay, I think I am in a space where I'm ready to put myself out there," which I find so interesting that, like, a change in environment and a change in scenery kind of propelled me into feeling like I'm really going to try to embrace whoever I am. Let's try to figure this out. And I think the same thing about TikTok. Like it feels so anonymous. Whereas Instagram, it's been around for so long. I've got my kindergarten teacher on Instagram. Like I don't need her seeing all of this stuff. And same with Facebook. Like these were created in the past for like friendships and relationship building, whereas TikTok is like purely entertainment. So I think the idea of, like, being anonymous over there and sure, you have, like, your friends follow you and stuff, but it's not, like, years of historical photos and stuff. It feels a little bit more freeing, so I'm trying to dabble in the Instagram space now, knowing that my kindergarten teacher follows me and everything I post she sees. But I think, like, the familiarity of TikTok and really putting myself out there for the last few years, I don't really care what people what people have to say or what they see on Instagram or YouTube anymore.
I really agree. The what's really important that you said is, like, the shift, and I think that you had a physical shift in environment, like, moving from California to Hawaii and just being able to break out of your shell and your normal environment, normal routine, but also I think that the shift can be mental, and I think that for a lot of
Massive, yeah.
people, it's like, that can come with motherhood, that can come with losing a job, because I think, like, a lot of the times people shift when it's, like, work can be unsteady and all of that, so
Mhm.
in posting, like, what is your why?
What is my why? Girl, that is a good question. I think my why has changed a lot. It was super niche in the beginning. I posted job videos. I'm a work from home mom. I wanted to help other women find remote jobs that would allow them to have their kids with them. Mainly the economy, childcare is insane. It didn't necessarily make sense to like work a full-time job out of the house and send your child to daycare. And so many people don't want to leave their kids. Like maternity leave in the United States is 0 for the most part, and then some companies have some leave and some states have some leave, so I wanted to help other women fall into the position that I was in, and then my kids went to school, and I wasn't doing the work from home mom thing anymore, so I kind of wanted to shift it to something that was a little bit more broad, just empowering women in general through showing them that they can do content creation and they can do, motherhood and work a full-time job. And then I found running and I fell in love with running. And I think my why now is really just empowering women, no matter single, married, mother, not a mother, never ran a mile in your life. You don't work a corporate job, just empowering these people to really embrace who they are and find things that they love that nourish themselves. And then I dabble in like the fun stuff every now and then so they can kind of see my personality. But I just wanna fill people's cup. I just want my page to be a space where people can come and learn about parenting and what works for me and how I got into running and what I've learned so far and talk about my marriage and the hard parts of marriage and grief. Like, there's so many different elements. I'm like a jambalaya of things. They say to niche down, and I'm like, "But I've got too many things that I wanna talk about. How do I do that?" So, I just pour a little bit of everything in there.
Yeah, and I totally it's funny because a lot of the advice I give people is, like, niche down, that's a really great way to grow, but also, I think that when you're approaching it and you want to just be like that not just be, but when you wanna be a lifestyle creator, you get to post what you want, and you are the niche, right? Like, I saw one
Yeah.
girl's profile a couple years ago, and her bio was like, "I am the niche," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes," like friggin' own it. It's just that's such an empowering way to take it, and that's kind of how I view your page and how you come across online. It really is a space for women to be the best versions of themselves and just be inspired, like, if I can do it, you can too. And what I really wanna ask you is, like, how has stepping out of the box, because I think, like, something that I feel I have is an all in or all out mentality. I am like a fuck
Yeah.
yes or fuck no kinda girl. And you, I think, approach things with a little bit more balance. You're like, no, I'm going to be able to work my corporate job. I like the stability. I like the income that it provides. And you work for a great company, but you're also going to do this thing. So, how do you balance all of that? And still, you have 2 kids. And congratulations, you're pregnant with your third baby. so,
Yay!
so, how are you balancing all of that?
Yeah. That's where my type A personality comes in, I think. And that's kind of where I've leaned in with the content creation side. It's so like um creative and free, but I do need to have structure and I do need to have balance, especially because I've got 2 kids and a husband and a full-time job. That is my priority when it comes to income. So I wake up super early and I wake up far before my children wake up. And that's when I'll edit videos. That's when I'll film videos. That's before I log into work of my content creation side. And then after my kids go to bed, that's when I'm sitting in bed editing, figuring out ideas that I want to post, going in my notes app, like that's a little bit more unstructured. That's when I talk to my manager and I work on emails and brand pitches and stuff. But because I wake up so early and start so early, I'm off work earlier. So there's like a little tiny stretch of time before I get my kids from school and when I'm off work. That's where I'll film content and edit content. So it's really just finding those pockets of peace throughout the day where it's not interfering with my time with my kids, because that's really important. I don't want them constantly seeing me like, "Oh, hold on, I'm editing a video." Like, "You just need to wait, I'm editing a video." So finding those little pockets throughout the day and then making those my staples. My schedule's pretty consistent when it comes to work, so it's really easy to slot it in based on what's on my Google Calendar for the day. But that's where type A comes into handy for sure.
That's actually really true. And I love what you said, pockets of peace.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
so cute.
But it's true. It's like as a mom, we've got like 15, 20 minutes a day between needing to wipe a butt and needing to go get a snack and needing to brush someone's hair. Like, we don't have these long, extended amounts of time to really sit and focus on work. And I think doing the work from home mom thing with working my full time job and having my kids around really helped me flex that muscle of, I've got this task, I've got 20 minutes, I need to get it done right now. Let me focus in and then go on to the next thing. So, it's not for everybody. It's what I've learned. Like, some people really don't enjoy it. Some people aren't good at it, and that's okay. But I think that is one of my strong suits.
Yeah, you are really organized. I'm like, and backstory, we used to work together. And we did the same role at a job. How many years ago is this? 6, 7 years ago?
6 years ago, yeah.
And you were definitely better at our job, like 100%. I was
I
always
was very
like, people,
process oriented.
yeah, but we were like on the same team. And I remember just being so grateful that you were there because I'm like, oh my God, I'm not good at this. Like, this is not my strong suit. It's something that I've really had to work at over the years. But I wonder, like, thinking back to, again, you started content creation a couple years ago. And I know that financial, like, having that financial freedom is a big driver for a lot of people. That's why I think it's such a great space for women, especially to get into, because it's like you get to release that creativity and it's accessible, right? It's just you have your phone, you get to just like pick up your phone and it's the barrier to entry is so low, which is why I'm so
Yeah.
passionate about women, like just accessing social media and the money that you can get from it. But I want to bring you back. What was your first ever brand deal?
Oh my gosh. My first ever paid brand deal. Yeah, it was with Recess. It's a smaller brand. Actually, they're getting pretty popular as people are like entering the
The drinks?
non-alcoholic space.
Yeah.
And it was like February, so I was doing dry January or trying to do dry January, and I was looking for alternatives.
Oh.
And I came across them and I pitched myself to them. I reached out and I said, it was my first pitch too. Like, listen, I'm going to shoot my shot. I don't
One
know
for
if you're going to
one for
accept
one,
it. Yeah.
100% success rate.
And they didn't get back to me for a couple weeks, and I did have to follow up with them. But they're like, "Yeah, let's do it." I think it was like $400 or something like that. And I was over the moon. I was like, "Oh my God, this is the most amazing thing." And like, obviously, creating brand deals is a lot of work. I had to script, I had to send it in and edit and do revisions and stuff. But my job again is so it's operations. I'm doing operations and project management. Having creative freedom, I was, like, hooked after that. Like, it's the best of both worlds. I have my operational mindset in my day-to-day job, and I can start doing these brand deals where I get to work with some amazing brands, but also still be creative, and most of the time, you have creative freedom. I think sometimes they're pretty, like, stringent on their requirements, but, yeah, working with Recess, after that, I was like, "I could do anything. This is amazing."
Right? I feel like that first brand deal, like, actually, like, signing the contract and the money getting into your account, it breaks down a barrier for you where you're just like, "Oh my gosh, the possibilities are endless," where you're like, "I did
Yeah.
it." It takes, like,
Yeah.
getting that one deal where you're like, "Oh my gosh, I did it. I accomplished this. I can do it over and over and over again. Now it's just rinse and repeat." And I think that it's so important to get there, but how long did you create content essentially for free before you were able to get that deal?
That first brand deal was in it's 2025, so it was February of 2023, and I
Oh.
started really making content. I would, like, post every now and then, but I was like, "I'm gonna actually take this seriously," in March of 2022, so a little less than a year of creating content, but I was posting 3 times a day, every single day for
Were
that
you
entire time.
actually?
Yeah, I did not miss a day. I remember going on a trip and only posting, like, twice. We were in California, and I was like, "I broke my streak."
That's so
But
funny.
I was putting in the work. I was really, really going for it.
3 times a day. So what type of content are you posting 3 times a day? Because I don't
Yeah.
recommend that. I probably at the time told you you were insane. Like, I'm like, "There's no way." We were, like, texting and whatever, and I'm like, yeah, that's do that. Continue." Like,
Yeah.
there's no way because 'cause I'm like, "That's insane."
It is insane, and, some days it was easier, some days it just kind of came naturally, and I'd be like, "I've got a million ideas, I'm just gonna post all of them." Or I would, like, film a lot one day and then save them in my drafts to post other days, but normally I would do, like, a morning routine or a day in my life or something like that. I would do a jobs video, and then I would do, like, a fun little, I don't know, trending audio. So I do something around, like, here's my day, here's what I do for work, and here's how you can get into this area of work, and then here's something to show my personality. So that was kind of my, like, strategy, and then, I didn't stick to it every day, but I posted 3 times a day, even if those videos were trash.
They're never trash. But sometimes the
I don't know,
algorithm can really play with you.
girl.
No, no. But actually, you wanna know what's really funny is I, like, every once in a while will go back to my very first vlog that I ever posted, and it is horrible. And
Exactly.
yeah, it's bad. But I can say that about my stuff. I'd never say that about your stuff. But, like, when I look back on it, and tell me if you feel the same way. When I look back on, like, the videos that I posted a couple years ago, I, like, cringe at it with joy because I'm like,
Yeah.
I am so proud of the girl that literally posted that really, really bad fucking video because thank you to her because now I get to live this life, and now my life is
Yeah,
so different, and you just create so many more opportunities, and this thing that I'm on right now is creating room for yes. Like, I just
I
keep
love
saying that,
that.
right? Over and over again. I'm like, create room for yes. And that's what you've done by starting this, like, by starting posting on social media and staying consistent. Because you said before, like, you posted on YouTube before. So did I when I was like younger, like the YouTube channels and all that kind of stuff. And it never took off. It never did anything. But because I never stayed consistent with anything. And I said this in one of my very first YouTube videos with like how she does it is like if the YouTube girlies back then, if we had just stuck with it,
Girl, I know.
w-
Where would we be? We would be
yeah.
on Tart Island. Like,
No. Oh my That's gosh. So true. But what I love, and this is what I've seen with a lot of the women that I've sat down with, that I've seen with you now too, is that by posting online and like just starting and just pressing go on this like creative idea and letting go of the expectations you have in your head, you follow this path and then you almost fall into your purpose. And so
Yeah.
tell me a little bit and talk to me about Happy Hour Run Club and how you were able to start that up.
So I started on my running journey about 2 years ago, and it was just, I didn't have an athletic outlet. We moved here. I canceled my Orange Theory membership because it's so expensive, ordered a Peloton. It got lost in the mail, never showed up to my house. I was doing the like at home workouts, but nothing was sticking. So I saw someone do 1 mile a day for 30 days. And I said, I'm not a runner, but I'm going to do that. And within 2 weeks, I was addicted to the feeling that running was giving me. I signed up for my first 10K. I signed up for a half marathon, and it's all a history from there. And I was documenting this whole journey. And about a year ago, I had this idea of a run club that was inclusive of everyone, because there's so many run clubs out there, but they're like, you have to be running this pace, or all like young people in their 20s
Yeah.
and, single, and they use it as like a chance to meet other singles, or they're all in their 60s and they've been running for 40 years. Like, I felt like I was missing kind of a space that I was in, and I never wanted to press go on it. I'm like, I don't know. I've only been running for a little amount of time. Like, I'm not a professional. What do I think I'm doing? So, Christmas, I just woke up one morning and was like, all right, Happy Hour Run Club, we're starting it. And I went on Canva and I said, I like this periwinkle color. I like this name. I like this font. I made an Instagram account and I just posted it. And this was before anyone in the house was awake. And my husband woke up and he was like, what is this? And so I'm like, honestly, I don't know, but we're going to find out. We're going to see what it can become. And that was like the first big jump I've ever taken in my life, where I'm like, I'm going to start something and I know it's going to make an impact and I know it's going to make a difference. I just don't know how yet. I don't know how we're going to get there. And that's really scary. It's still scary for me to think about. Like, I'm going to be hosting these in-person events. I'm going to be inspiring other people to start out on their running journey, specifically moms running with their kids, and parents who are just like, I need an outlet that my kid can come with me.
Mm-hmm.
So February 1st was our first run club. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have like an RSVP list. I just kept posting, we're going to be here. Show up if you want to. And Lululemon in Waikiki, the store manager, reached out to me and was like, this is really cool. We want to sponsor you. So I went into Lululemon and she gave me a bunch of like giveaway stuff and some new outfits. And I showed up and 30 people came.
That's crazy.
I'm like, this is insane. I was so emotional the rest of the day because some were friends, some were people we've known, some were people that just follow me on social media. And we all had a blast and we ran a couple miles together. And there were a ton of kids, which is something you don't often see in run clubs. It's just like kids running around everywhere.
Yeah.
So I've got big ideas that I want to execute on, but I keep kind of like falling back into this imposter syndrome, and I have to like snap myself out of it. I'm like, a couple months ago, you just started this thing because you knew it would be successful. So tap into that energy and just go, just see what happens. And I'm excited for it. I'm nervous about it still.
No, I think that there's one, I love it. It's funny that you just like threw the branding together because I think it's so cute. Like everything about it is literally adorable and seems very well thought out. But I think that like two things can be true. One, I do understand like when you're starting something having imposter syndrome, but it's so funny like outsider looking in because I'm like, oh, whoa, were you nervous? Because you have a social media presence. You have over 100,000 followers on TikTok. You have tens of thousands of followers on Instagram. So for me, I think to myself, once you put something out there, it scares me at this point because I'm like, what if
Yeah.
like failing out loud can be scary. And it's like when you're starting something new, failure is always like a possibility. So did you have any of those feelings, and how did you work through it to just say like, F it, I'm doing this?
I was convinced I was gonna have maybe 2 people show up, and
You and Aaron?
no, literally, I'm like, "It's gonna be me, Erin, the girls, and then maybe one of our friends." And I have, like, my friend group out here that were like, "Yeah, we'll be there," but they're also moms. I'm like, "I understand things come up. It's 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Like, I don't expect you to be there." And I just was like, "If 2 people show up, that's 2 more that showed up than would have if you didn't start this. That's 2 people that you inspired to come out here and run. That's 2 lives that you've made an impact in, like, celebrate that." So that kind of gave me motivation, like, it doesn't matter if one person shows up. It doesn't matter if just you show up, Alexis, like, you put yourself out there and you really tried something, and if this doesn't stick, let's try something again. So when 30 people were there, my jaw was on the floor. I was like,
That's a
how is this even
classroom.
possible?" That's a
Yeah.
classroom, yeah, and, I mean, you see other run clubs, they're, like, hundreds of people, but I live on a small island, like, I think we'll get there. I think we'll find a place where there's a ton of people that come, and I'm always going to remember, like, the initial 30 that showed up and are like, "Let's see what this is. Let's try it out and see if we like it."
100%. And what I love, like, obviously, as a parent, is creating a healthy environment where
Yeah.
kids can also come. Because I think that that's such a like a pain point for like being our age, wanting to be active, wanting to be outside, wanting to combine like all of our loves and our interests, but then having these little rugrats by our side where we're like,
Yeah.
oh man, you can't go to that. And like, I'm not leaving you on the weekend because I want to spend time with you and I want to be with you. But you've
Yeah.
created this like harmonious environment where you're like, and that's kind of how you approach parenting. To be honest, you've always been like, my kids are coming, like it or
They're
not.
coming. Yeah, I mean, I had Penelope when I was freshly 22 years old, and none of my friends had kids. And it was one of those things where, like, I'm not gonna stop my life just because I brought another life into this world. She's a human. She's gonna come to things. She's gonna show up. She deserves to be here. She deserves to take up space too, obviously within reason.
Yeah.
But I want my kids to make new friends. I want my kids to be introduced to different cultures and different types of people, and I don't know, just be surrounded by a community that's we're all there for the same thing. We all wanna move our bodies. We all wanna be outside. We want community. I keep referring to happy hour as, like, a social club where we run because it's
That's
really just about
cute.
making those connections, and, like, we're not doing hard runs. We're doing, like, a mile and a half to 3 miles depending on what you wanna do, or what your capability level is, but I want other people to feel like this is a safe space that I can come with my children and they're going to be safe, they're going to be welcomed, and so am I.
I really love that, and it's so interesting that you said, like, you would just bring Penelope in those places. Like, I remember that time in your life, and I remember being inspired by it, and this is before I had Ivy, obviously, and I remember taking away, like, you did not like, you fit your life or sorry, what's that saying? Where it's like you fit your life around no, you make the baby
No,
fit
it's
into your life. I so
yeah.
stuttered on that. You fit the baby into your life, you don't fit your life around the baby. And so you guys really embody that. I work in a different way because honestly think with parenting, I'm a little bit more type A than I am just like in business in my personal life.
Yeah.
And obviously being a mom is my personal life, but you know what I mean? In my parenting philosophy, I'm a little bit stricter on things and routine, but also I have a different like family structure. So it's like I gotta,
Yeah.
in order
That's so
to
interesting, like, the difference
yeah.
between us and
Yeah.
how I'm, like, so type A, but I'm a little bit more type B when it comes to, like, schedules and, agendas, like, with my kids. I'll sacrifice a nap. Like, I've got no problem sacrificing a nap. I've got no problem pushing bedtime. Yeah.
No
I'm
way.
not the one that's gonna be like, "Oh, the party starts at 10. Well, we're gonna be there from 10 to 11 because nap is at noon." I'm like, "Okay, we'll be there. We'll figure it out as we go." And that's kind of been the approach that I've always taken.
Yeah, and I remember that, and I remember feeling like that's so great, and it honestly made me I was already excited to have children like at a young age, but it made me super excited to feel like, oh my gosh, it's so expansive. Like it feels like an expansive way to parent. Not that my way isn't or anything like that. I like
Yeah.
the life I live. I like being on a
Yeah.
strict schedule when it comes to Ivy because that allows me to have flow in the rest of the areas of my life. But it just goes to show that not like different things work for different people. And I honestly really love that. But tell me about like how you've been able to figure out your parenting style because you talk about this a lot
Yeah.
online, parenting tips, all that kind of stuff. Talk to me about how you've been able to find your parenting style starting out being a parent so young and
Yeah.
shouldering all of that.
Yeah. So I knew when I had kids, I knew about gentle parenting and authoritative. Like I knew all the different parenting types, but it was honestly just vibes for those first couple of years. I feel like with a newborn to 1.5 years old, it's kind of just like, I'm learning you, you're learning me. Let's figure everything out together. But once they start getting to the point where they need discipline and they need boundaries and they need, I don't know, just more structure in parenting is when I was like, oh shit, okay, let me figure this out real quick. Let me start to figure out what's going to work. And I love my parents. I love everyone that raised me. But I knew I did not want to raise my kids the way that I was raised. There's a lot of yelling in my household. There was a lot of not nice words. There was just not a lot of like structure. So that's when I started dabbling more into parenting books and figuring out different parenting styles that were going to work for us. I came across gentle parenting and then I was like, oh, this has a bad reputation because people don't fully understand permissive parenting versus gentle parenting. So my authoritarian, it just really diving in and like educating myself and picking pieces that work for our family, and then sharing that back because I think you can read all the parenting books and you can try to apply all the principles. They're not going to work for everybody. There's so many things that I've learned that do not work for our family, like sleep training did not work for our family until last month.
Yeah.
And that's not typical for a lot of people. So I kind of pieced together a lot of different parenting styles based on my kids' personalities, based on their development, based on what they're learning in school. What are the teachers teaching them and how can I bring that home and how can I complement it? Aaron has a very different parenting style than I do. I think it's a great balance for both of our kids. I think he's more stern and I'm more I don't nurturing, honestly. I'm a little bit more like emotionally driven. I want to talk about their feelings. I really want to understand what's going through their minds. And he's more like, you got to go do this right now. Like, let's get out the door. We're trying to process things. When I come in, it's a good balance. And I think it really falls into that like feminine, masculine, kind of stereotypical gender roles that parents hold. But it's like one of my biggest passions. If I could write a parenting book, I would. If I could go back to school for child psychology, I would. I love
Really?
it. I'm fascinated by it. Like the growing brain, a child's growing brain is the coolest thing in the world to me. But again, imposter syndrome. Who am I to go back to school to become a child psychologist or something like that?
What? You'd be a student. Do it.
True. Add
Different,
that to
like,
my
there's different
plate.
seasons, right? I'm like, add it to the list because there's
Add it
seasons
to my
for
nursing
everything.
list. Like,
Yeah, yeah, but that's the thing, you keep coming back to these, like, science-based things, like,
I
and
know.
wanting to explore it, but what I really love and respect about you is that you do take these chances. You do things to figure out what you wanna do, and you've had blogs before, right?
Yeah, I try a lot of things.
Yeah. But you stick with them too. It's not just like for everybody listening, it's not just like she's trying these things and it's just like, I don't know, hyper focused and then you ditch it and you're gone. No, you really do stick with things for a while and like your footprint online is really, really there.
Yeah.
But talk to me like about when you've been online, how do you decide when it's time to walk away from something?
From like a project that I'm working on,
Yeah, like
or
a creative standpoint.
as soon as it doesn't light my fire anymore is
Oh.
when I kind of walk away. And that might be a little bit aggressive, but for example, like the jobs, finding work from home jobs for people, that lit me up for so long. I loved it. I loved hearing people's impact stories. But as soon as my schedule got to the point where I couldn't pour as much of myself into it as I wanted to and as I felt people deserved, I knew it wasn't serving me anymore and I needed to step away. I'm like, I'm not enjoying this. So the product is not going to be what I want it to be. Maybe it's time for me to take a break. And that's what I did. And I do still like it. It's still something that I would love to help people with. If someone messages me and is like, where do I find work from home jobs? I'm going to work with them. I'm going to talk to them and help them out. It's just not something I'm pouring hours of my time into anymore. But really, I am very much like, as soon as this doesn't make me happy anymore, I'm walking away from it. At least
Honestly,
with
no,
my creative endeavors.
yeah, no, I feel that. And so is that why you've held on to your 9 to 5 because you haven't found the thing that you feel like you're gonna keep long term?
I think a little bit, but I also love the stability of my
Yeah.
9 to 5 job. I love knowing that I have a steady paycheck. I love knowing my stock's vested this time. I love knowing that we've got, healthcare HSA and a dependent care FSA. Like that structure feels good to me
That's the type A, yeah, like, because
because
I don't.
yeah, because I didn't have that growing up. My parents didn't have structured paychecks coming in very regularly. My dad was a contractor and worked for himself. My mom worked a million jobs. She did so many things. So there were times where like money was scarce. We didn't have a lot of stability and we'd lean on my grandparents for that. So I did have stability in the sense that I had them, but when I went to college, I knew I don't want to rely on anybody for finances. I want to be completely self-reliant. I want me and my husband to make our money. I don't want to have to ask other people for money because I saw that so much growing up. So I think that's why I haven't left my 9 to 5 because I'm like, I know that we'll have stability here.
No, that makes sense, and I don't think that you have to or that that's for everyone. Like, when
Yeah.
you love the stability of, like, the pay and I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't love the
Yeah.
stability of money? But sometimes and I think that the reason why I was able to step away was because I was groomed from, like, even my jobs before I was in corporate, it was like I was a server. Majority of my money I'm making from
Yeah.
tips. It was, like, not very predictable. When I was in sales, it was, like, my biggest my salary was nothing, you know what I mean? It's where my bonuses were the unpredictable thing and where I'm making my money. So I've very much been groomed essentially to not know
Yeah.
really what I'm making on, like, the month to month. I know what I make during the year. I'm like, "This is how much money I
Yeah.
make in the year," and then that's how I base, like, how I'm living so that I'm not living above my means, all that kinda stuff. But that's not some people's brains don't work like that, and it is a really hard thing to adapt with, and I think that's something that people don't really understand is when it comes to brand deals, like, I don't know the brands that you've worked with or whatever, but for me, it's pretty normal for brands to pay you, like, net 60, net 90,
Yeah.
right?
And that stresses me out.
Yeah.
That brings me so much anxiety. Like, oh my gosh, you have no idea. I think my long-term goal would eventually get to the place where I could go part-time at my full-time job. I don't ever see myself not working a 9 to 5 job. At least not right now, at least not while my kids are small and the stability feels good. But when I finish, I'm like, here's the product, okay, delivering it to you all wrapped up in a bow, and you're not going to pay me for 90 days? That's crazy. What do you mean?
I
I
think
know
that
that's the norm, but like when it comes to finances, my brain does not function thinking that far out. I'm like, okay, this is what I make every month. And if in 90 days I get an extra little bump because of a brand deal I did 3 months ago, fantastic. Like, let's put that in our savings or towards travel or student loans or whatever it is.
I think that that's something that needs to change within the creator industry, though, because I'm just like, it's not fun, but but it is very normal, and I feel like at this point, I'm just like, I'm very used to it. I'm like, "Okay, whatever," and you just understand and you scale and just organize things in that way so that you kind of level set your expectations. But I want to talk because I think that's something that's really cool that you and I have both done that we've talked about is like basically manifesting what we want with content creation, with brand deals, with all of that. And so sometimes, and every creator goes through this, where you go through like slumps where you're not
Yeah.
feeling super creative or it's like I'm in my luteal phase right now, and I'm like, I want to
I was
quit.
about to
Like,
say.
or it's like, I want to quit content creation because it very much is this emotional thing. But you go through this cycle. I've seen it time and time again where it's like you're feeling this certain way and you get yourself out of it by like setting goals and then you achieve those goals. So I specifically want to
Yeah.
talk about like the $5,000. Do you remember that? Where you were
No.
like, I want to make $5,000 and then in brand deals in like this time frame. And then
Oh,
you,
at the end of last year.
yeah.
Yeah.
So tell that story.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy. And that was the first time that I really feel like, oh my gosh, maybe I can manifest things. Maybe I really can turn things into reality by just speaking it into the universe and focusing on it. But I had last year, brand deal wise, I made a lot of not a lot of money, but I made money at the beginning of the year and then it went silent for months from like May through September or October. I don't think I made anything in those months.
What?
And I
No,
was,
because you're in the creator fund. You made money.
no, I left. Yeah, because I thought it was tanking my views. Yeah, so I was making nothing.
Oh, wow.
And I think I left in like July.
Okay.
Um, but at the same time, like I wasn't doing any outreach. Anything that I was getting was inbound, and a lot of it just wasn't worth my time. So I got really frustrated. I got to a point where I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I spending so much time making content, editing, and creating? Of course, it's to like nourish my audience and it's because I love it. But I'm like, there was so much financial payoff that it felt like another, like, keep going, girl. Like, you can really get somewhere with this. So, what was it, like October or something? I was like, I'm going to make $5,000 in, I think, the next month I set for myself, maybe 2 months. The next day, brand deal, brand deal. We want to give you this much. We want to do a 2 month deal for this much. And I signed $5,000 worth of contracts within a week. I was floored. I need to do that again.
No, honestly, but that's such a good reminder for people. And like, that's why I wanted you to tell that story because I think it's so important for people to understand. One, you took control. So like, yes, brand
Yeah.
deals came and were incoming, but I truly feel like you have to move with what you want. And there's the Kerry Washington quote that she's like, you have to pray to catch the bus and then run as fast as you can. And I
Yeah.
always say, like, pray over your purpose because I have done this so many times. I feel like entrepreneurship is spiritual. And I don't think you
Yeah.
can succeed with just thinking that it's all you. I don't believe that at all. You know, I'm Christian. You know, I believe in God.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, to whoever you speak to, whatever that looks like for you, tap into that. And I really believe that it will, one, help you to alleviate stress because
Yeah.
there's those moments where you're like, oh my God, nothing has come in for months. What am I going to do? You got to pray to catch the bus and then run as fast as you can. And so with content creation, I think what that looks like, I'm going to say mine first and then you tell me what you think. But it's like you have to be consistently reaching out to brands if you're managerless, right? Because at that point you didn't have a manager, now you do. So that looks a little bit different. But reaching out to brands and like, I am so obsessed with the like tagging a brand in your Instagram story. That brand deal to like story tag to brand deal pipeline, I am obsessed with.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're good at it. I need to start tagging brands more. Because I'll always like post brands and then forget to tag them, but I think that's a really good point. And for me, um, it's more like once I spoke it into existence, my actions needed to follow. So instead of just having these ideas of like, oh, I want this in my mind, or why am I not there? Why am I not getting these brand deals and having that more negative energy, switching it and saying, I'm gonna make $5,000 by this date, my actions seem to follow. Then I was like, okay, what are the types of videos that brands would want to see? I started posting more of those, started tagging brands more, and it came really naturally. Whereas before, when I was like, why am I not getting anything? Everything felt like a struggle. So it's really interesting that like little tiny mindset switch of this is going to be mine by this date and my actions are going to follow to why isn't this mine? And everything just felt so difficult. But I agree. I mean, I grew up Christian. I went to Catholic school. I've struggled with my relationship with God since my mom died, but I'm trying to become more spiritual and just it feels good putting stuff up to the universe or whatever it is that you believe in, and knowing that it's not all within my control because, again, type A, I think everything is within my control, and I have learned it is not. So it does relieve so much stress just being like, if it's meant to happen, it will happen. I love this saying, "What's meant for me will never miss me." And fully leaning into that and just trusting, like, if this is not for me, it's not gonna pass me. It might not happen right now, but it's not gonna miss me.
1000%. Do you feel like you're working 2 full-time jobs?
I feel like I'm working 45,000 full-time jobs. Yes.
No, I'm always just curious because you have, like, your 9 to 5 corporate and, like, because when I was doing that, I was like, "Oh my gosh." And, like, you were posting way more, like, 3 times a day at one point, and I was only posting once a day, and I was like, "Dude, like, I can't." I knew I couldn't do more than that with, like, everything that was going on, but I just for, like, people listening, I really think that it's important to talk about what that realistically looks like, and you do such a good job within your videos doing that and explaining that, but what it realistically looks like, because I think understanding how much work it is, how much time you need to put in order to see the return for the
Yeah.
type of person that I am, that's inspiring. Give me the playbook, tell me how long it's gonna take and what I need to
And
do in order to see success from it, and I'll do it, but I think that a lot of the time, there's, like I don't know if it's this, like, secret wall up with people in creation or we just don't talk about it in the same way, but I think you do a really good job at talking about what that balance actually looks like in content creation and, like, having a full-time job and
Mhm.
children that you're managing, right?
Yeah, it's a lot, and I have had to get comfortable with the ebb and flow. So the nature of my job, I am incredibly blessed to have the job that I have because it is so flexible. The nature of the work environment is about flexibility. So if I need to log in later one day, that's totally fine. If I need to log off early, that's totally fine. Take a break in the middle of the day, no problem. My boss also knows about my whole company knows about my social media. Everybody knows that this is what I do. So they've even like used me in their marketing and in their to like advertise. Look at what she's doing, she can work her job and do the social media thing. I had to really put boundaries in place to protect myself as a wife, protect myself as a mom, because trying to post 3 times a day for 7 days was way too much. You were the one that was like, "You need to take a break, take a day off." So I don't really post on the weekends anymore, and I don't really record on the weekends anymore unless I'm doing something that's like, "I wanna document this. This is something I wanna document for my life." Otherwise, you're gonna get a video of me in bed, like, just talking to the camera for 2 minutes. Like, I don't do anything structured on the weekends anymore. That's my time to disconnect from my 9 to 5, to disconnect from social media, and to just be present with my family. But for a long time, it wasn't. For a long time, there was no break. There was no, um, flexibility. It was content creation, job, pick kids up from school, husband goes playing that to play with them, finish work, do content creation more, put them to bed, do content creation, log into work for a little while. It was a constant cycle. There was no break. There was like 2 years of that. I've just gotten to the place where I'm like, I can afford a little bit more balance.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, affording a little bit more balance. I was gonna say, like, you earned rest, and I don't mean
Yeah.
that in a toxic way where it's like, you
Yeah.
need to, like, burn yourself out essentially, but I do think that and I've said this before, our generation and generations younger than us, I feel like have a little less grit than, like, our parents and older generations thinking that things are handed to them and whatever, and that can happen, right? Like, you can be a viral
Yeah.
sensation. It can happen to you overnight. But I think like that's the exception. And the rule is you're going to have to work really, really hard for years in order to see a payoff. And then once you see the payoff and you've like built yourself up enough, now you can rest a little bit. I've done the same thing.
Yeah.
Like for years where I'm like, no break, no, you're not doing that. You need to work harder. And I still go through seasons now where I'm like, no, you're doing a sprint. You don't get a day off. You don't get a whatever,
Yeah.
and it's insane, but it's like when you want to reach the next level, you have to continue to push yourself, and that has to be internal. But also, I think it's about surrounding yourself with people who will do that for you, because I think that we do that for each other also, because content creation
Yeah.
can be like you're a solopreneur. It can be like a lonely space. Not everybody understands it.
Yeah, 100%. And something that you told me a while ago, for a long time, I was just creating content to create content with no like strategy, no idea of what I was working towards. You were the one that was like, Alexis, what are you trying to get out of this? Are you trying to have financial stability? Do you want this to be your full-time job? Do you just want a certain number? Because I'm so analytics focused, and it'd be like, this video only did 500 views and all my other ones have 15,000 or whatever. I'm losing followers at this pace. Like, you set me straight. You're like, you need to figure out what your goal is. Otherwise, this is going to eat you alive and you're not going to be able to sustain this. And I realized that my goal with social media is to just make an impact. Yes, the financial aspect of it is fantastic, but I get so much joy seeing people tag me in their videos that they're going on runs with their kids. I get so much joy when people tell me that they found a work from home job and their kids are home with them. Like, I had to make no money for 6 years doing social media. However long I put, I'm doing this, but just knowing that like me being vulnerable and sharing something about myself made an impact on another person's life. That's truly what has kept me going through all those months of making no money. And like, I'm getting so much joy just seeing people benefit from the content that I'm making. So once I figured that out, I don't care about the numbers as much anymore. It really was like you took the the handcuffs off of me and like, oh, okay, I feel like I can breathe again. I can just focus on the joy of making content and not be so obsessed with all of the nuances that come with it, because they will crush people.
Mm-hmm.
They will crush you.
Yeah. And that's, I think it's really true. And why I say you need to approach like the creation part as the creative and look at the analytics like you are a business owner. Those are two separate people looking at two separate issues.
Yeah.
And you
That
can't
wasn't for me.
I know. I know. And I like really have tried to like coach you to be like, you have to take off the creative emotional hat, because if you look
Yeah.
at your analytics from an emotional place, you're gonna want to quit.
Your
Like the
feelings
out
are going to get hurt.
Yeah, your feelings are gonna get hurt. And I think that it does that's a hard thing to actually implement and like work with in practice, because once it becomes this thing that you financially do rely on, which like when you're making a lot of money, you're going to start to rely on it. I don't care what anybody says. It's
Yeah.
not just like, you know what I mean? And so it is hard to like break away from that, but that's why I'm like, just you got to sometimes it's important to like post and ghost and just
That's what I
get
do now. Yeah.
yeah, and get off of there. I'm like, I answer a couple comments and then I disappear, because one, the comments are mean. Like, not all the time, but, there's people in there just that wanna be mean to be mean,
Yeah.
but it's just not healthy. And if you want to continue to grow and impact people, because I think that for me too, I feel the same way. Like, yes, well, obviously, it sustains my life, so it is
Yeah.
important that I
It is
continue
your
to make
job now.
yeah, it's important that I continue to make money, but I don't care about it. Like, what fills my cup is those DMs that I get of women
Yeah.
that are like, "Thank you." I got one last week that was like, this girl was like, "I never see influencers that their life looks like mine," because she's a single mom and all of these things. And I was like, oh my gosh, if you scroll back on my TikTok, you'll see like my therapist gave me this advice to like search out influencers who are also single moms who are successful. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to like create that space and share my story, because I was like, at the time, I literally said, it can't just be me and Khloe Kardashian that like this happened to.
I feel like I remember that.
I was like, it can't just be me and Khloe. Like, there's no way. Like, there has to be more, but I couldn't see it. Like, people were not wanting to share the mess in the same way, because, again, it was like early TikTok days. Instagram was just this very curated and pretty place, but TikTok opened up this space for us to be able to get real, get honest, and like open up and share our stories as like these regular girls in the world who just have like a nice way of delivering a message, and sometimes it goes viral.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. One of my mutuals that I follow, her name is Mel. She's recently become a single mom, and she's working a fast food job to pay for her 2 kids. And she's super vulnerable and started sharing how she breaks down her paychecks. And when I saw her doing that, I got chills because I was like, "You don't even realize the impact you're about to have on millions of people. This is not something that people, like, wanna get out there and share about all the time. You are going to make such a difference, and it is going to change your life." And I'm just so proud of her because 'cause I'm like, it takes so much vulnerability to share these pieces of yourself. Like, for me, it's grief with losing my mom, and for you, your family dynamic and being a single mom, and we didn't see that. You don't see that on Instagram. You barely see that on Instagram now still. I feel like
Yeah,
you're just
honestly,
starting to dabble in it, and TikTok has been that safe space.
it's really true. So I want you to, like, before we wrap up, I want you to give me advice. Give the person that's listening who's like the younger version of yourself or the girl who hasn't taken the leap yet to, I don't care if it's start posting or start the business, like give her advice that you would have given your younger self.
I think if I could look at my younger self, have coffee with my younger self as that trend is
Oh,
going
yeah.
around, I would say it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be. And that's still so true in my life today. It does not have to be perfect. It just has to be. It just has to exist. If it lives in your head, it's not going to make a difference. If it lives in your mind, it's not going to make an impact on anyone. Once you get it out there, is when your life is going to start changing. And I've seen that over the last 2, 3 years. Once I started being vulnerable, once I just said, post, throw my phone in the corner, let's go, that's when things started shifting. And not just in terms of growth on social media or financial growth within myself. I would not recognize myself if I looked in the mirror 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 3 years ago. Like, I've become such a different person. And I attribute it to the idea of it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be. That first mile I ran was not perfect, but it was. I did it. I still got the mileage in. That first video was not perfect. My videos still aren't perfect, but they're there, and I'm showing up.
I love that. It's literally like done is better than perfect, and it's so true. Like, so true, especially because I love that you said, like, your videos aren't perfect, but they're there, especially because I think it's so beautiful. And, like, we're about to, she hasn't announced her pregnancy yet. So this is like exciting. But once you like are sharing that online on social media, it's going to be so exciting that you have that like time capsule.
No.
Like, there is this
Yeah.
personal energy to things where it's like, "Oh my gosh, I get to keep all of those memories too."
Yeah, it is something that I really wish I did with the girls, was, like, just document even if it was just in my, like, personal camera roll. I barely took any pictures of myself when I was pregnant with Penelope. I did a little bit more with Rory, but, I mean, like, social media back in I got pregnant with her in 2018, like, everything felt very perfect, very curated, and I was like, "Well, that's not me, so I'm just not gonna do it." And it's that same mindset of, like, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be. It just has to be there. So, I'm excited to document this little baby. I already am, because it's making me
I'm
so sick.
actually so true. I'm so excited once like the videos are just posted live and everything, but this has been wonderful and I really really hope that if you're looking for any type of inspiration when it comes to motherhood, parenting, running, even just being a girl and like
Yeah.
moving through life, Alexis is such a beautiful person to follow on social media and if you're local,
You
join her run club. It's very like
no, come run with us.
yeah, like, it's just a I wish I was local. I would be there. Me and Ivy would be there
I
100%.
know, I know. You don't have
One
to
time.
have never run a mile in your life. Just show up and you can walk a mile. I don't care what you do, but just finding the community.
Honestly. Well, that is how she does it.